Okay, so we have discussed about the principles or the perspectives that marketers can use when it comes to developing targeting strategy. Okay, now let's look at the next one. The next one is basically segmentation variables that we need to discuss, which are quite important. There are 4 segmentation variables that we can use um, in, in, in our segmentation analysis: geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral. Okay, so I would recommend, these are quite fundamental. I would recommend you to look at to use these 4 segmentation variables, so you have a more comprehensive analysis on your target market. Are they the only ones where look, the 4 segmentation variables are not the only approach that you can use? Some marketers may use different approach, such as Roy Morgan value segment, or another approach using similar value segments, such as strategic business insights to segment the customers. Okay, so yes, they are not the only approach, but we please use these 4 segmentation variables for your assessment. The geographic reflects the dividing the large population into smaller market segments based on geographical units, such as region, urban, state size, then population density, climate, and so on and so forth. While demographic is basically using the demographic variables that may remind you the census survey that the Australian government often conducts, such as age, gender, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now you may recall that we also discussed demographic and environmental force that we had some time ago. Please make sure that you can differentiate between the 2. Demographic segmentation variables basically leads you to the analysis of which target market that you want to service, whilst demographic environmental force revolves around what kind of forces based on demographic changes that affect your business. Okay, so they're the 2 different things. All right. We may use the same population data to help us understanding, but remember, the population data is not about our target market. They are the you may have a different target market to the population data. You just need to get a small chunk of the population that you have that you're facing in certain region. Okay. The psychographic variables reflects the personality attributes, the lifestyles of the customers, the motive of the customers. So they are the psychographic segmentation variables. So if you say that my target market is basically consists of those who like outdoor activities, for instance, they are energetic outdoor activities, then you're using lifestyle segmentation variable. The behavioristic variable includes the attitudes and knowledge of the customers towards the product, such as the volume that they use, how they use the product. Okay, the benefits that they expect, how loyal they are to the brand, and also the price sensitivity. Okay. So that's basically the variables that we can use when it comes to demographic segmentation and geographic segmentation variable. Okay, all right. So that's basically segmenting the market, which is quite important. And again, the day when marketers can use the jargon that my product is for everybody is probably over, unless you are the monopoly holder in that industry. Okay, right. And now let's move on to the next one, which is basically positioning. This term positioning is quite important for us. The positioning basically is about the promise that you want to convey for the customers. In other words, positioning is actually about how the the way the product is defined by consumers based on its important attributes. All right. So think about a mobile phone. Your mobile phone, for instance, you have certain attributes that you expect from your mobile phone, and assuming that it is reflecting the entire market's attributes, the entire market's feedback about the importance of the attributes, then that's how we can map a positioning, map a brand, a handphone brand. Okay. All right, so that's basically about positioning, and which is quite important because it is actually reflecting the what the company promises for the customers to deliver. Okay, now how do we establish a positioning? The first thing that marketers would normally conduct is the develop what we call as perceptual map or positioning map. Okay, this is an example of a positioning map. A hypothetical example of a positioning map. We can use quality and also price as the variable, and we actually in real life we may actually get some more attributes beyond price and quality. All right, so you can use when it comes to hotel, you can use the level of service, the number of features, for instance, that you can also consider, or the brand reputation, for instance, as another feature, for instance. Okay, to position or to map certain brands in the market. Okay, or in other words, you would expect, if you look at this diagram showing two variables with two dimensions in here, you may expect multi-dimension when it comes to mapping the brands in the consumer's mind. Well, of course, because as a consumer we have lots of variables that we can use to map certain brand, okay, including the price, including the friendliness, including the including whether they have certain other attributes when it comes to hotel. Okay, but as a starting point, we can use these two-dimension perceptual mapping. Okay. And this perceptual mapping is also important for us. We can also think about, if you look at this diagram, we find that basically the high price, high quality type of diagram quadrant is quite crowded. Okay, so if you consider having a launching a new hotel brand with high quality, high price, then you need to consider, you know, the market's very crowded, and customers have lots of options already. Okay, but if you consider a different angle, such as you know, low price, high quality, for instance, or probably low quality, low price to beat the backpackers, that it may be another option for you. Again, this is based on the diagram. Of course, if we conduct a thorough research, we may come up with more attributes than just price and quality. What's the next thing after that? The next thing after we develop the perceptual map is what we call as the positioning statement. Okay, I would recommend you to write your positioning strategy into a positioning statement, because your positioning strategy is quite abstract and it has to be communicated to your stakeholders, such as your other colleagues and also the advertising agency. Okay, so the positioning statement is not written as to whom or what target market. You are what, with what needs. Your brand is what, okay, with what point of differentiation. Okay, so that's basically a positioning statement in a nutshell. Now, the key point about positioning is actually about how we can defend it, how we can defend our positioning strategy. Therefore, in terms of defining our own positioning strategy, we actually need to make sure that we can deliver them through the marketing mix variables that we establishing the marketing mix variables. Right? So that's basically the positioning in a nutshell. Okay. The next thing that we also need to discuss today is the concept branding. Branding basically reflects a name, term, design, symbol, or combination of those things that differentiate one product to the other. And more importantly, is about the concept brand equity, which is basically about the brand awareness, the level of knowledge that the customers have about our product or service. That includes the brand name. And it also about the brand association or specific word that we use to describe our brand. It is about the specific word that our customers use to describe our brand. Right, so that's brand association and brand awareness. The next one is perceived quality, how the product quality is perceived by the customers. And the last one is brand loyalty, how committed our customers are to our brand. Okay. Okay. Now, in terms of brand strategy itself, well, it includes it includes the culture of the brand, brand equity, as we discussed before, and also certain strategies such as the manufacturer brands or the house brands. Okay, so they are basically related to our brand. Again, they are related to the brand strategy that we want to develop. Okay, and selecting a brand name is also something that we also need to consider. Have a look at the your e-text to go through more details about selecting a brand name. And we also need to consider the aspect of protecting the brand. And now this one here is about the brand policies. That is basically quite critical for us to develop our own brand strategy. Okay, whether we want to have individual branding, some companies adopt individual branding. So when they launch new products, they have their own brand. If you look at P&G, for instance, they have different brand for each product that they launch. Unilever also adopts similar things for a similar approach for their own personal care brands, such as Dove, Rexona, Pond's, for instance, and some other companies adopt what we call the family branding. So they include they use the same brand, which is basically the family brand or the umbrella brand, if you like, to carry a range of products such as Kellogg's, Cocoa Pops, Kellogg's Special K, and so on and so forth. Okay. On top of that, some other companies use a combination between individual branding and family branding. If you look at Arnott's, for instance, they have a family branding in their sweet portfolio. For instance, they have Arnott's chocolate chip cookie, they have Arnott's sandwich, Arnott's cream biscuit, for instance, and so on and so forth. And they also have individual branding such as Tim Tam, Shapes, Tiny Teddy. Okay. Companies also need to consider their brand extensions, whether they're going to use the same brand name for the different product category, such as, or different industry. If you look at Virgin brand, for instance, it has been used to compete in different industries, such as airline, mobile phone, or telecommunication, and also financial sector. Okay, or a line extension strategy, such as Pepsi and also Coke. Pepsi Max, Pepsi Next, for instance, Coke Zero, Coke Classic, and also Coke Diet Coke. Co-branding is another strategy that a lot of companies also consider. So they normally try to look at two strong brands in the market to join force, okay, and they create one co-branding strategy. So if you look at Caltex and Woolworths, for instance, or if you look at Oreo ice cream, Oreo and McDonald's in the ice cream category, for instance, there are a couple of other examples. Okay, all right. So that's basically the STP. Now, what I'd like to discuss further is actually a brief highlight of the product strategy. Okay, now we discussed about the product strategy. As we discussed before, when it comes to positioning, we have to be able to deliver what we promise in our positioning strategy. Therefore, our product strategy should be able to translate the promise that we want to convey for the customers. Okay, right. So product includes the goods, services, or ID. Okay, such as political parties' IDs or not-for-profit organizations' IDs. Okay, so that's what the term product is all about. Okay, by definition, a product, if you refer to academic definition for product, it is actually about anything that can be offered for customers' attention, acquisition, and consumption that might meet the need of the customers, right? In the olden days, a product was defined as anything that we make in the plant. Well, look, take the customer's perspective when it comes to defining a product, okay? Now, this is quite important for us. I'd like us to understand the concept total product. The total product concept actually includes a few points. The first one is actually about the core customer value or core product. Okay, so this reflects the customers, what the customers are really buying, In other words, it is actually about the reasons why customers buy certain products. So if you go to Bunnings Warehouse and buy a 1/4-inch drill, well, you need to ask yourself, why do you buy that, right? In relation to the product, okay? So we buy that because we want to make a whole. Therefore, to make a whole is the core customer value, right? The same thing the same principle when we analyze buying a car. Why do you buy a car? Well, it is to move us from A to B, or transportation, okay? So that's core customer value. The next level is actual product, which is basically represented by the brand name, the level of quality. Okay, what level of quality that we want to provide, the features of the product, the packaging, okay, and the design. All right, the design of the product. Okay, so the actual product involves these 5 areas. Okay, this helps us detailing the product, detailing the core customer value. All right, so we also need to ensure that the actual product reflects the core customer value. All right, and the next one is augmented product. Okay, the augmented product is actually the additional service, the additional benefit or service that we provide for the customers. This includes the warranty, the information, post-sale service, okay, the warranty, okay. They are the additional things, the other additional things that we provide for the customers that can enhance their experience in using our product. Okay, so think about your own product that you analyze for your assessments. Okay. Okay, the next one is about the product classification, whether a product falls under consumer product or business product. I guess this one is pretty straightforward. It goes back to the how the product is consumed, who consumed the product. Okay, so that helps us to determine whether it is a consumer product or business product. Now, again, as recommended before, I would suggest that you focus on consumer products or consumer markets. So you have 4 classifications under consumer products. The first one is convenience product, which is basically about a product that is, relatively speaking, inexpensive, affordable. Frequency purchase, from consumer behavior perspective, they prefer to purchase the product quite regular, quite frequent. Therefore, the volume is normally quite high. As a result, the price is not that expensive. And from distribution perspective, we expect that product to be distributed widely. Okay, examples include the toothpaste, toothbrush, breakfast cereal, okay, sanitary napkin. So they come under the convenience product. And the next one is shopping product, which is basically more expensive than the convenience products. Customers would normally have some planning to buy this kind of products. Okay, they don't purchase it that frequent. Products that come under shopping products include your consumer electronics, such as your mobile device, your laptop, your TV, okay, furniture, clothes, or fashion apparel. Okay, they come under the shopping products. So you have some effort in planning, at least when it comes to shopping products. The next one is the specialty products, which is basically luxury items. So it has, the customers normally have strong connection with the brand. Okay, so they would be willing to expend considerable effort to obtain them. Okay, so you can consider fine crystal products, for instance, or Rolex watches, for instance. Okay, there are a couple of examples of specialty products. And unsold product, which is basically a product category that customers have little awareness, and if they are aware, they may have the efforts to avoid it if they can. And it is purchased when a sudden problem may be solved, such as insurance products. Okay. A product that customers, again, are unaware, and they necessarily, they may have the tendency of avoiding buying this kind of product. Okay. And under business product, we have the installations, accessory equipment, raw materials, and the other one is components product. Okay, so there are some categories under business products. Okay. Right. Still, we have the few categories on the business product that includes the process, MRO, maintenance, repair, and operating, and business service. And now the other thing I'd like to highlight to you is the product mix concept and the product decision. We have the width and also depth of the product mix. Width is actually about the number of product lines that we offer, whilst depth is basically reflecting the different products in each product line. And what is a product line? A product line reflects a group of products that is consumed, produced, and distributed in the same manner. Okay. Okay, so this reflects the product width and depth of PNG. Okay, so in terms of product width, remember product width reflects the number of product lines, and product lines, again, is basically about a group of products that is consumed in a similar manner, a price in the roughly similar. If we put them into the same apple-to-apple size and weight, for instance. Okay, so they have several product lines here. They have laundry detergent, toothpaste, bar soaps, deodorants, shampoos, tissue, towels, fragrances. Okay, and they also have some food categories as well. Okay, so that's product width. We have in this diagram. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 product width. And in terms of product depth, each product line has several level of depth. Okay, so we have here in terms of laundry detergent, they have Draft, Touch, Cheer, Downy, Bold, Gain, Era, and Febreze 2000. Okay, so there are some examples of the laundry detergent that PNG has. Okay, all right. So basically, they are the ones that I'd like to highlight to you. The next one is the product life cycle. Please go through it in your e-text briefly. Product life cycle. Some authors suggest 5 stages, and your e-text suggests 4 stages. The other authors suggest 5 stages. They include the development stage where the product is still under development. Okay, and introduction stage is the stage when the product meets the customers in the first instance. Okay, so at this stage the sales is still quite low, the profit is negative. Why is that? Because the cost is still quite high. Cost per customer is still quite high. Now, why is that? Well, the reason for that is because the customer's awareness is still low. Therefore, the marketing objective in here is basically to raise awareness and stimulate trial. How do we do that? We run advertising campaign, we run promotional activities, and we normally launch the basic version of the product. At the growth stage, sales rise rapidly. The product that achieves growth stage survives the introduction stage. Okay, so at this stage we make profit, and at this stage as well, since we make profit, competitors start looking at our product category. Okay, so the objective in here is to maximize our market share, so hopefully we can dominate the market. Okay, becoming a market leader in that product category. Okay, how do we do that? We expand the distribution, we expand the product from launching the original one, expand it to the next version, and so on and so forth. Okay, and the maturity stage. At the maturity stage, as shown in the diagram, we have lots of competitors that has triggered our sales becoming flattened, basically. All right. So the objectives in here is basically how we can maximize our profit whilst defending our market share. How do we do that? We still expanding our distribution, preempt our competitors, basically focusing on our key benefit when we run the campaign. And the next one is declining stage, where the customers have different options to meet their needs. Therefore, the volume of that industry declines as a result. Okay. In this instance, normally the top two brands, maximum 3 brands, survive in the industry because they've got the economies of scale. The other brands exit from the category. Okay, but it also depends. If the industry is full by players who only have a single product or a single business to offer, they may have a dogfight to compete in that industry, aggressive price war, right? So our purpose in here, our objective in here is basically to maximize our profit so that we can use the profits to introduce a different product in the other industry. Okay, how do we do that? We streamline the product offering. We make it simple. So again, at the declining stage doesn't always mean we don't do product development activities. We may still do product development activities to simplify the offering, to make the offering more profitable for us. And in terms of price, we beat our competitors to make sure that our customers come to us. Okay. And in terms of distribution, what are we going to do? Since it is in declining stage, not all customers like it anymore. So we also reduce the level of our distribution. Okay. All right. So basically, that's the highlights of this topic, guys. And if you need help, let me know. Good luck.